Welcome to the CEO of Destiny podcast, where you will find the tools to fulfill the purpose of your generation and wildly succeed in the marketplace. And now your host, Andre J. Benjamin.
What do you think about Web3 and Ethereum with the ability to, basically the future of Ethereum? What is your confidence in Ethereum and kind of, the smart contracts? Just break that down a little bit based upon your understanding in Web3.
Sure, I think Web3 is a very interesting concept, and I think it will become a reality as time goes on. I mean, people say, well, first of all, what is Web3? And probably the easiest way that it's been described is Web 1.0 was a static sort of website. It was the website. They created the content and they owned the content. Web 2.0 is the user creates the content, but the website owns it. So think Facebook. You go in there, you put pictures up there, you put memories, thoughts, whatever it is. The advertising, the eyeballs that go on that content, the revenue flows to Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And so Web 3.0 is the user creates the content and the user owns the content. So if you go out and you make an interesting video, or you post your web podcast up, you've got a much better chance of monetizing that and capturing the benefits through Web 3.0 than you would through Web 2.0. And so I think that is really in the grasp of society right now, because the tokenization of assets, the blockchain allows that not only information but value to transfer through the internet in a much more efficient way.
They're calling it the creator economy.
That's right, exactly right. And it's going to take time for it to be developed, but the trajectory we're on right now certainly leads me to think that we're going to see much more of it over time. As to whether or not Ethereum is the winning platform on which it's built, I am still a little bit skeptical. I think that Ethereum is definitely the front runner right now, but it's too expensive to transact in Ethereum right now, and we're not seeing the types of volumes and transactions that I would like to see. Like if the blockchain is going to experience a lot of the potential that I outlined in my book, we're going to have to see a chain that is cheaper, that can handle more throughput, meaning it's scalable. It's going to have more security types of features, and it's going to have a governance mechanism that's flexible and can accommodate necessary changes. And so there's some other protocols out there that I think are definitely contenders that could dethrone Ethereum.
Who are some of the ones you think that are in the wings?
Well, there's people are talking about Solana. I have a little bit of skepticism around Solana. It's had some technology issues over the last couple of months. I think Avalanche would definitely be one to watch. And then there's one that people haven't heard about as much called Hedera. It's actually based here in Dallas. I really like that one. Hedera Hashgraph. It was started by two former colonels in the United States Air Force. They were professors at the Air Force Academy. And if you know anything about that part of the country, in Colorado Springs, there's something known as Cheyenne Mountain. And inside Cheyenne Mountain is NORAD, where they have all the defense mechanisms for the U.S. nuclear arsenal. Those two professors, they actually created all the message authentication and all of the safeguards to make sure that Iranian terrorists didn't attack the system, or North Korean bad actors, whatever it was. God forbid, if a nuclear missile ever gets launched by the United States government, they made sure that it was authorized by the president or whoever had the authority to do that. So they, at the highest levels of security, have been able to create this that type of a communication system. They have applied the same kinds of principles to this hash graph technology. And it's led to large corporations like Boeing, IBM, Google, Ubisoft, the largest video game software company in Europe. They've all signed up to build applications on this chain. And I think that one is a contender. It's one that people haven't heard about. I kind of say it's the sleeping giant.
It gave me that, when you said that, gave me goosebumps, because there were two guys who were walking around. They weren't speakers at the conference, and they were talking about like one of the ones I went to in 2018. And in my mind, I'm like, slow down. I'm just trying to get a hold of this in the first. And they were like, this will bypass this. This is more secure. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm still trying to figure this out, So it's powerful to hear years later. Here it's 2022, and you're saying this, and I'm like, wow, I haven't thought about that since then.
Well, just to give you a little bit of flavor of what has been, what type of transactions have been consummated on the Hedera Hashgraph blockchain. In Great Britain, you have the NHS, the National Health Service, which is the socialized healthcare system in the United Kingdom. They tracked all the COVID-19 vaccines. So every time a vial left a distribution center, went to a doctor,
on the ledger.
Let's write that in the ledger. Every time a dose gets given to a patient, write that in the ledger. Every 5 minutes, the containers that held the vaccines would report the temperature back to the chain. So they got to get it. You had to keep these vaccines at or below a certain level of
absolutely
of temperature, otherwise they would spoil. So by having all of that tracked, traced, audited on the blockchain, the government thought, look, we can reduce risks, we can disseminate these things much faster and better than we could by not using a distributed ledger. I think that's a huge vote of confidence for a technology like Hedera Hashgraph.
Because I think about agriculture, and I think about businesses, warehouses. I think about the opportunities for people to really keep a strong inventory. It's kind of an auditory or an auditor and an inventory nightmare most of the way, because there's a lot of, and I'm not a person who, I do believe in the value and utility of humans. I don't think anything will, so I'm not a person that over indexes and just says, we don't need humans, we just need robots. But I think there is a way that the technology can be used to make things more efficient, that you can connect, that you can leverage it for benefit, that people can start seeing higher margins of profit, or more impact on making sure that the deliverables that, hey, we saw, not only did I know it was a local cow, but I lived in that neighborhood, I knew that what the cow was eating, and you know what I mean? And
yep. You can know what went into a product, and you can be sure that you can trace all of that, the procurement of those products, back to the source, which is what blockchain's all about. And what I see happening in the cryptocurrency markets over time is that people will start realizing this utility value of crypto. And what I mean by that is that if Walmart wants to put its supply chain onto a blockchain, or Louis Vuitton wants to put any counterfeiting measures into its shoes and its handbags, they're going to have to go out and buy cryptocurrency and use that cryptocurrency or spend that cryptocurrency in order to do that. And so they're going to have to buy crypto just like they buy oil or electricity or iron to make goods and services. And so crypto will start being seen almost like this industrial commodity that's going to be necessary to best market and produce these goods and services. And that's going to be an interesting moment when the market really realizes that these things aren't just casino chips that people speculate on the price of. Now, I would say 95% of cryptos out there are kind of junk. There's no.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I said, I asked where we were in the timeline in your mind, because is this right before all the, cough.coms are about to, is this right? Is this the boom before the bust? And then now it's kind of like they're true players that actually solve problems and offer value and utility remain. So are we kind of clearing the field still?
I think we are. We're moving from like what has been termed a bull market of ideas, meaning, hey, I'll just kind of throw this idea up and people buy it. They buy it. If they don't, I'll just come up with another idea and try to sell that.
Yeah.
The sort of the sizzle, not the steak. We're moving into this bull market of utility where people are going to start saying, hey, what's the business model behind this crypto?
Yes.
What can it do for me to make my life better? Who else is using it? Those are going to be the new standards by which crypto is judged going forward. And so I see a sifting of the good from the bad unfolding in the marketplace.
So when I started in 2018, it was funny because that's what was happening with the ICOs is you could have a group of teenagers in another country go and get the internet, get some photos of some people that look credible, put some bios up, have a white paper that said and raise the money and disappear because it was the Wild West, so to speak. You know what I mean? That people were just excited about the idea of like, this is so new. I want to be first in. And they just jumped and they didn't really do their diligence to say, okay, well, who are you? What are you actually? What is your track record? What value? What problems have you solved? Are you, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that you even pointed that out in the book. I'm kind of most captivated by the opportunities for creatives with things like NFTs and DAOs to get almost their bit of agency back as creatives, because a lot of times they were last to be paid. That's everything from, or they might not get paid at all, or they get ripped off in what they were doing, from playwrights to directors to, just inventors even, inventor. You had the guy who created the Super Soaker, and, they were supposed to, and it became their best-selling product, and they were supposed to pay him, but he had to go and audit the books, and they owed him like another 40-something million back. And they had to, catch him up and keep on for the life of it. But just a lot of things like that, because we don't know all the weeds of legalese and how to keep up with the best attorneys and whatnot. What are your thinking? What is your thinking around ways for creatives to engage in this reformation? Because they might be leery of the tech, and they kind of got burned by the older business models.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Do us a favor. If this was useful in any way for you, please go to iTunes and leave us a review. Reviews will allow others to easily discover the podcast. If you'd like more information and to receive a free download, Rediscover Your Destiny, go to ceoofdestiny.com. Thanks again, and tune in next time.